going to be part three, continuation with what we were talking about with the fractal of the tares in the wheat. Okay? Perfectly. Now, I'm going to also show you what we were talking about with those manifested words of Jesus Christ that are going to bridge the gap between time and space, the distance between it, pull it together, make it an experience of now, and then a wonderment of how. I mean that. It's going to be a true miracle. It's going to be nothing less than an absolute miracle. And it will almost be in the same technique that I've been taught how to, in a sense, allow these people to expose themselves. It will be a miracle in the same sense where you will see that it will be their own self-exposure that will reveal them as the hypocrite. It will be their own self-exposure. Don't forget that. You're going to see that in an incredibly unique way. And what will be even more unique, it will be 100% consistent with exactly how I've taught it and talked about it. Exactly. Okay? So just like I'm going to show you now, I want to show you briefly. I'm going to try to keep this short. This picture that you're looking at is really a result of three separate, diverse pieces of information. One comes from a book about monatomic gold, the Ark of the Covenant, from a very unique perspective. What I was interested in the book was the sciences that was talking about the process, the repeatable process of creating monatomic gold in a modern laboratory. And it's a fact. It's done, and then the process behind it reveals that 44% of the gold material is transmutated. It disappears once in the laboratory, the controlled conditions that we see the powers that be are setting up, the controlled conditions of the world, so that once the DC direct current, the electricus, once this energy blast hits this gold material, we see that if it's raised to a high enough heat, there's our fire from Rev 13, verse 13. Then 44% of the gold material disappears in a blazing white flash. Well, that's their phoenix. This 44% is associated with the 44th presidency of the United States, meaning at this point, they are going to leave the flock, the 44%. Just like our agent Light for Light, her essence is this 44 code is what she's trying to say, and then she is all about this. It's why she's attacking, but yet trying to pretend to be something else. If she was really what she says she was, she would be elated that this is being revealed so that people can realize and get out of the way of the path of this blast, because we know where this blast is coming. It's coming to the East Coast. More importantly, it's going to be centered off the coast of New York City in association with the millstone. So we see that even in the scientific experiment of the monatomic gold, it reveals that the 44% plan on disappearing. And then we hear that song from Sting, that popular musical artist, and he says, "Devil in the deep blue sea behind me, vanish in the air, you'll never find me." And then if you continue to listen, he talks about that you'll one day find out that you're serving as your master, and they're going to turn your face to alabaster. And that's all about that story with Lot's wife. Well, as I told you, it's about the destruction, and then someone is sent to warn about this destruction. But the one in the modern is different than the one in the past, as you see clarified. But nonetheless, the people's spurn is still none the same, and they will be eating and drinking and then thinking nothing of the warning that was given to them. Now, don't we know that in Rev 12 it describes them being fed in that large place, which matches up exactly with what Hosea says about them being all gathered together in large place? And then we see that in that song, Bye Bye, Miss American Pie, that they are all gathered together in one place. Well, they have a huge number in their network. They're almost 2 billion strong by my estimations. But what we see is that they will be divided. They're not letting everybody go to Shinar, and they're not telling the majority of their initiates about it. That's why a lot of people are inadvertently shocked to to know. Nonetheless, this is a division, a rift in their kingdom that is a reflection of everything else. We'll take all of the myriads of the divisions of their kingdom and unite them together as one singular thing. Jesus sees all things at one time. He transcends all things at one time. If he's going to offer the gifts of a seer to someone, that is the type of gift ability you will have. You will transcend time and space, the distances between, and bring all things together as one. So what do we know about this woman? Well, she is the Black Madonna. If you've been watching the videos, this is the fulfillment of Revelation chapter 12. This is that blackness, that ephah, that wickedness that has gone to that new land between heaven and earth, which would be the moon, to birth that bastard child, as it's recorded in Zach 5. Notice that she's wearing all black. Okay, and then this times up with the ephah basket and the darkness, the dry measure of grain, which is affected with the ergo. And then we know that ergo is now a word sound have power manifestation of truth. Ergo means to err, to make a mistake, to make a wrong choice in your going. And then, of course, the Bible calls them the idle shepherds. Woe to the idle shepherds that shall leaveth the flock. They're going somewhere. All right, and then the 44% of the monatomic gold disappears to the land of Sharon. Well, that is an astral plane, and then you'll hear that being referenced in Dreamweaver, if I'm correct. And then the Dreamweaver is now the spider, which I told you is the Black Widow. And then the spider itself is weaving the web of deception. And of course, the Black Widow spider eats its own. Just like the king snake, just like the cobra. And then you got to think about Nekbet and Wajet. Nekbet is in representation of these Kobal, or Nekbet and Wajet are in representation of these vulture and cobra type symbolisms. These carrion eaters, but in a sense cannibalistic in so many ways. Now notice about the stories about the legend of a witch. She likes to eat little children. And of course we know that this spider weaving this dream weaver web that we see these people who are truly sleepwalking are being trapped in. And then the only thing that I can do is wrestle through their attacks and get them to see that I'm trying to help them. So notice if she's wearing all dark and she's got this dress that, I mean, I'm telling you, if you were to go into a costume store right now and ask for a witch's outfit, boom, there it would be. Now remember the video series I did, now why they wear the witch's hat, and I told you that in essence it conceals that illumination. Notice the illumination that we have here is coming from this dark blackened pointy stone, triangular in essence, but also in association with the ancient Benben stone that we have in Egypt. Now you got to remember, all of this is coming down on a descending plane. In other words, it's falling. Now look where the knowledge begins to show you the same trail, and it's important to remember that word trail because you're going to see it come up. Remember that at first Lucifer then falls, and then he corrupts the devil. Genesis 28, Ezekiel 28, chapter 28, we see that the planetary prince was still good until this iniquity was found in him while he was in prince care of this world. Ezekiel chapter 28. First the fall from Lucifer, Macro, Prosopius, and then we see that iron crossing, the double crossing of our world, and of course the devil becomes sealed, but is still funneling this dark knowledge in a descending manner through to the daughters of the kingdoms of men. And then, of course, they are made to now begin to revere this type of occultic pyramidal message. Now we see where this Benben stone, which is just a later manifestation of something before it, which begins to fulfill with the very same pointy hat that the individual is wearing right here. The very same witches type hat. And then, of course, that descends right down to the supposed royal descendancy of these daughters of men that were chosen in Genesis 6. Now we see where you get the expression where I'm telling you that the witch's rule is over. You got to remember that this queen of heaven, this Ishtar, is considered the first witch. Okay, and then now the witch's hat with the rest of the costume perfectly fulfills it. Now, don't think that that's it. That's not it whatsoever. As we come down here, I want you to see that the very same manifested witch's hat is here. We're about to have a time delay. Unique perspective. Okay. Now, you got to remember, all of this is descending and falling and coming down, and then it's being lifted up, and then it's falling and coming down again. We're going to fulfill Isaiah 34, where the unicorns and the bulls come down with them. Okay? And we're going to show that this knowledge originally falls from heaven, and then, of course, it lands into the water world, the word of Jesus Christ that has now sealed them in with his word. And, of course, you see that very same manifestation come to life right out the scriptures, where you know that, of course, Lucifer first falls, then corrupts the world, corrupts the planetary prince. He is now sealed. As you see, he is now having to be taken out of the earth. What did I tell you that the earth was? I told you that the earth is in reference to the dust, which is a circumscribed tetrahedral geometry. This geometry here is the exact same manifestation of the geometry of the atom. It's the exact same equation. It goes from micro to macro. So here is your little dust particle, of course, that they're having to manipulate, and then, of course, cross with their dark genetics to create what they are hoping to produce from the kingdoms of the daughters of men, which now believe themselves to be this royal descendancy, but in reality are practicing nothing more than witchcraft. Nothing more than witchcraft. Now, what's beginning to become important as we see that this knowledge is now come down from heaven, descended into the world. Now this dark prince is beginning to influence the world with darkness, and then now their plans come to the full. The consummation of their plans come to the full. They have crowned themselves in their witch's hat to supposedly, from everyone else, hide the source of their illumination, which is really coming from their dark prince up here. Well, now that the consummation of the crime has come to the full, guess what? Baby in tow. Baby in tow. Okay, so if the consummation of the crimes has come to the full, we know that at this point in Zach 5, it describes them going to the land of Shinar. So we see that they are leaving the earth, okay, this other water world, and then now they come to the new shore, the new Jerusalem, the new Shinar, where we see in Rev 12 that they're supposed to be fed in this new Shinar, this new Babylon, for a period of time, right? They're supposed to be, in a sense, kept safe with all of their luxuries. Am I correct? Commercial Babylon is sodden with luxury. It is connected to some of the first bankers. Then, of course, we know that within this word bank, we see Ankh. We see Ankh. And if you remember my revelation from Night of the Comet, 1984, that very old movie, which is coded like you wouldn't believe, which will reveal everything that I just told you in exact same mannerisms, we see that they have named that character Hank Goldman, which in reality is a acronym for, or an anagram for, Ankh Goldman. And we know that we're talking about that golden calf, that calf of Samaria that is associated with Hathor, that great white cow that is now associated with Ishtar, that great cow, which is now associated with the Masons, the Ma sons, the Mu sons, the cattle people. Okay? And I'm not talking about any Masons that are unaware of this murderous, corrupt plan. I'm talking specifically about people in this murderous, corrupt plan that are not, not going to change their course. Many of these people are going to go through with this. We know that this does fulfill. But then, of course, Jesus Christ says he's going to keep you from all evil if you have faith and wholeheartedly trust in him. And then now you can begin to produce spontaneous fruits. He said any tree that's producing spontaneous fruits is not going to be thrown in the fire. You have to be active in your faith. You got to be producing these spontaneous fruits on whatever level you can. It doesn't matter if you are producing a fruit as small as the tiniest of berries or as large as the biggest of grapefruits, the biggest of apples, the biggest of plums, the biggest of oranges, the biggest of whatever fruits that you can produce. You just have to produce within the equal measure that you yourself are capable. And then therefore you're using your gifts for the kingdom. Don't be inactive. While these people are so active and acting, you need to be more proactive than these people as best you can. Give what you can. Give what you have. That's what's required of you, not what you don't have. Jesus Christ cannot ask anything from you that you don't already have. And then by default, what you have, you're supposed to give a portion of that back to the kingdom, back to the service of your brothers. Not to say that you do works to enter into the gates of heaven. Jesus Christ has already done the work. You already entered in. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. And then whether you do accept there when you get there or not is still open to you. You still got a choice. There is free will on the other side. Lucifer and Satan, they also made choices, did they not? That proves that free will is still on the other side. That's why you grow from glory to glory. And you don't just zap right in to perfect paradise. You were brought forth from image, new body, new name, commensurate upon the levels that you have ascended previously before you. We are not to tarry in the valley of the shadow of indecision, the material valley of shadow of death for an eternity. And we see these people trying to set up camp here. We see these people that have entrusted themselves into this material carbon reality that they are seeking to kill a bunch of other people to possess it and set up camp here forever. You're crazy. You're crazy. We only tarry here for a short while, gaining the necessary experience to bring us to the next level. And you can't be in fear of the next level. You've got to be able to, in the reality of the truth, not destroy and let all this go, but to let it all go in a spiritual sense where you can transcend above the material revelry that we see taking place all over the world. All right. Now, I just said a bunch of stuff. Sometimes, you know how it is with anybody. You know how you get when you get inspired and you just have to let it on out. So now it's very important because we go back to Isaiah chapter 34. Once they go to the moon, then they're planning on coming back down. But we know from the scripture that they don't come back down at their leisure. And then another thing within the parables of Jesus Christ, he says that the only ones that will be able to come back down with their lives are those that will repent. Ones that are going to trust wholeheartedly in him. And then we know that he has to send his angels to really find out who amongst them is the real true believers. And then this will relate us to the word religion. And then we have to think about legion, and who the real legion is the army of the locust, and which are associated with a bad religion, and they were religioned in the past. They were religioned to the cause of Jesus, or they were religioned to the cause of Satan. And then now we see that they are going to be religioned to the cause of Jesus Christ. Incredibly. We know that originally they have fallen and they have trusted in the serpent. They have been religioned. Religion or religion is your spiritual stance on the world. So they have been repolarized to a new field of reality. All right. Now Jesus Christ has already revealed in the book of Daniel how Nebuchadnezzar, those that have been sealed spiritually after they lived a physical life, and then they're sealed in the spirit, we see that they in the book of Daniel come out of this back into the kingdom, and then that fulfills the parable of the mustard seed, which even the birds of heaven, which Nebuchadnezzar is symbolized as, will eventually come back to rest under the kingdom. Well, we find out that the locusts also do. The locusts also change heart, and once again, they religion again. The locusts are going to religion as they've done it already. Anybody knows anything about chiropractic back adjustments, you know that once your back goes out one way, it's easy for it to go out again the exact same way. once you create the pathway initially, it's easy for something to go right back through it again. And then that's exactly what's going to happen. The real religioning that's happening is going to be with the locust. It's going to be with Israel. Israel is going to be restored to this original herb, this original medicinal truth, this original mustard seed of the kingdom, which is now going to sprout forth as the greatest of all trees, overshadowing these mighty oaks. And then we see that Ishtar will be banned. And then, of course, that is the mother that you see here. Pretty quick here. When I said now that they're trying to come back down, Isaiah 34 describes them coming down with the unicorns and the bulls. Well, in perfect fractal relationship, here is the coming down from the central point. Once again, there's the owl for Ishtar. Is not that woman the first witch? Is she not associated with owls? There is our Ishtar with her witch's hat, and then there is the very same owl faces. Okay? It's the exact same thing that it should be. Okay? And then there is our owl with the overlaying of the Ankh. It'll be the very same thing that you see with the Regina in the Night of the Comet movie, because she is all now bound to this Ankh Goldman. Okay? Now, if we come on down, as I said, I put the bank right up under here, the little piggy bank. And then we know that the little piggy bank is now trying to produce this Ankh Goldman, which is now that golden calf that we see Hosea says is going to turn on them, that he is going to reject them, that he is going to go into, what is it called? Perdition, iniquity. And I'm telling you, iniquity is when you turn on your own. That is a serious iniquitous act. You're supposed to be your brother's keeper, right? He is going to fulfill the manifestation of being the opposite of even his children's keeper, his adopted children's. So we see the Ankh is an association with the piggy bank. You can now begin to see this as a pig. You can now begin to see that as a pig. You can see it as a pig's face with the little snout down here, or you can see it with the snout coming around and facing you straight ahead. And then, of course, as we know that the pig is the bank, well, we know what egg that she is trying to birth. She's trying to birth a cockatrice egg per the book of Isaiah. And we know that these cockatrice eggs in the fullness are trying to destroy the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. Bible recites about the beheading of the believers of the lion of the tribe of Judah. And there we see that the path of the serpent is showing this beheading of this lion type statue, which is an actual archaeological structure somewhere, statue somewhere. So nonetheless, watch it, how it fulfills further, okay? So if I put the witch's hat back on her, and you know that all this is descended down, the Ben stones coming down, we know that the millstones coming down, we know that this knowledge is fallen, we know that the path that it's come from heaven, we know that now that it's affected the dark prince, okay, on that water world, and then they've left and they've gone to a new water world because they are in a dry and thirsty land. They had to take that water and bring it there to advert that dry and thirsty ground. Okay, so we find out that they're planting a dry and thirsty ground way back in Ezekiel 19. They've had plenty of time to been stealing our water because they're about to make what's here wormwood. So they've got to get safe, good water. Everybody need water to live. Now they're on a new shore, just like it describes, okay? And then you would hear this in all of those esoteric coded songs in the 70s rock situation. All right, but remember, when you cast a stone into the water, that ripple dimensionally spreads outward. And I'm telling you, it is spreading outward to the journey of the shores that are your destination. You better realize that. There's a bridging of time and space as long as the person within time and space is going the direction in which the ripples are already traveling. If the wages of sin are death, you can't escape yourself if you're working and laboring for sin. All right, and if these people are all associated with the moon, it's all right there. They can't deny it. It's in Rev 12, her feet are on the moon. Everything with the plan for sin and the moon, the Babylonian moon god, everything Hosea says about it. Shinar, Babylon, the New Jerusalem. It's right there. And then the witch's rule is almost over. So now, I want you to watch what happens. I want you to watch what happens really close. And I'm probably going to close this video off and go into the next one. Okay, pay attention. And if you can watch everything I did, maybe the last 10 uploads in a row, do it. Do it. You will see it grow before your eyes like you've never imagined. We've got the little bank here. Now, what does the word now tell us? You got to remember, we're talking about ecclesiastical Babylon, which is called an unchastised woman, right? Associated with Ishtar, associated with the many waters. The Bible says over and over and over again, she has been deceived. She has committed whoredom with these many waters. This many waters is these many different cultural knowledges from Assyrian to Babylonian to Egyptian. Unfortunately, she has only accepted to herself the deceptive knowledge from these cultures, which is all about the ye or gods, which is the fuel for the temptation to push them into this direction. And then as a result, they now push everyone else before them over the pit. And then they think they're going to be able to fly up right before they go off the other side and be lifted up on these great wings of a vulture eagle taken to Shinar. This is their new shore. Okay? And then Deuteronomy 33 would fulfill the unicorns pushing people together from the far ends of the earth. They're pushing them into this New World Order. Of course, this New World Order results in the death of many. But if you pray to Jesus Christ to find yourself worthy and submit yourself to his leading so that you can produce his spontaneous fruits out of your basket and not have it full of darkness and blackness, but now can fill it forth with the light of truth, which is mercy and brotherhood for all. Please, people, mercy and brotherhood for all. Throw away your racist doctrines. Throw away everything with your national pride, with your genetic obsessions. Get rid of it all. Come on back. Come on back down to the simple truth, the simple love. Do unto your neighbor as you have done unto yourself. Their plan is going to come to consummation. It's going to come to consummation whether you're with it or not. So you might as well just get on out of it and watch what happens to the rest that stay in. And the only way to begin to do that is to start turning to the truth of Jesus Christ. Start turning to the truth. Okay, Ephraim is an unturned cake. Well, you need to turn. You're burning on one side. If you're not careful, you're going to burn on the other side. The other side, that dark side of the moon. I warn you because I love you. I warn you because I know that you were some of the most brightest people. You were some of the first people to go searching for spiritual truth and to go looking for a God. It's just unfortunate that the devil has sown seeds amongst you on stony ground. You just got to realize that the devil has also sown his seed in. And then, of course, some of the seeds that Jesus Christ has sown in have also fallen on stony ground. And there, in the middle, is where everybody has met. And then the devil seeks to convince everyone to judge and become pre-denominational or predominant of their ideas in such a way that they will seek to stalk, slander, and accuse with their last dying breath, and at the same time throw that fatal stone of death. You can't do that and expect to get away clean, especially when you're messing with darkness, something dirty and soiled in the muddy dirt, mingled with that iron and that Murray clay. Murray means dirty, means muddy, means marred. Don't mar your name. Don't be a part of it. Let them go. If you got to take what's coming here, so be it. Better to die with your soul intact than to try to gain the world and lose your soul. So now let's look. We know that the symbol for Ishtar, which we see here, that witch, the queen supposedly of heaven and her new heavenly abode, is associated with what? The rosette. And then we see that that rosette is associated with the grail. I told you grail is the Camelot. And I told you what the Camelot is going to be. That the camels, the G's, even the Nehesh, the serpent, is going to get their lot in association with Salem, which is the witches, right? The Salem witches. And we see that these are the witches that are truly infected with that ergot, that sick doctrine. Anybody that needs this type of doctrine of murder to justify your perfection is sick, and that's why you need a doctor, okay? But you have chose the wrong physician. You've chosen a serpent that's trying to climb up your spine. All right? All right, look at this word. Look at this phrase right here. Look at this phrase. I know time's about to go out. Okay, I think that not the time, but the volume. Now, I say all of this out of my head. I have basically what I talk about right here is right in front of me. And, I really do my best. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. It is hard. I'd like any one of you to get up on video over and over and over again and speak for 1 hour straight or more about complex issues of spiritual truth in a hopefully simplified manner, and relate all of this from your memory, and then not have slip-ups. Okay? Not perfect. If you judge me on slip-ups, okay, it's you yourself who are slipping, because you are missing the forest of truth, okay, for the influence of a few fallen trees. All right? So allow me my own human inconsistency, but then realize that it's my spirit maturity that is longing to rise above the material inconsistent self that we all are, and become more consistent in truth and grace, and at the same time grow in that power of God. The power of God, as I said, is love. It's mercy. It's forgiveness. Those are the superpowers. That's what makes someone a superhuman. Not magical spells and incantations, not geometrical distortions and manipulations. No, but true livocation to the Word of God. And then having the patience within it, realizing that it will lead you unto all truth, but it does it without taking shortcuts, and then you'll be the better off for it. Here's another train, or a car or something. You'll be the better off for it. You will be the better off for it, because what you have acquired is now yours by actual experience. Nobody can take it away. Once you have experience, it becomes personal. If you have experience with God, you have a personal relationship with God. Just make sure that the God you have a personal relationship with is not about to go into perdition. If he goes into perdition, he fulfills the fractal, and he is going to destroy his own. And that's what I'm trying to help you guys see. All this stuff is coming together. So let's look what this phrase says now. Now with the combined fractal, as I told you, everything this has descended from this macro prosopis. Okay? Lucifer has fallen from heaven. He has double-crossed the earth. There is the iron cross, the cross with the murray clay. We know that the clay is an association of the dust of the earth. We see that the dark prince is now bound and sealed within the water word. He can't rise above the water line, the field of choice, unless he destroys the star tetrahedron, which you see as an equatable understanding in this entire thing as their agenda. Now the dark prince, in a sense, is funneling the knowledge as the Nehesh from the Genesis event, and we see that now it is accepted, and then they adorn themselves in their witch's hat to hide the source of their illumination, because in reality they're not proud. They're not proud. And then we see that all of this comes down as a path It's like a trail. It's like a trail of the manifestation of sin. And then, of course, we know that this is all about their supposed refuge of Babylon. It's all about their ecclesiastical, spiritual Babylon. So, in other words, it's a sin trail of Babylon, a sin trail of the confused ones. And I've just showed you their sin trail of confusion. And as we see, it is the sin trail of Ankh, of their Ankh Goldman, and of course their supposed Ankh royalty, their supposed Ankh immortality. Okay, it is the sin trail of these Ankhs of Babylon. Iraq is Babylon. We know that Mystery Babylon is right here in symbolic form as a witch by their own exposure. By their own exposure. And then, of course, the Bible says the same. And there's so much more to say. And if we want to talk about it in the division, we're saying that the wheat and the tares, we're saying that these people think that the wheat, well, we see that they're the dark Ephah and Zach 5, they're that wickedness. Guess what? There's that wheat and the tare. There's the furrows that are being plowed for that pasture, their field of dreams. We see, what do we have? Something gathered into a bundle, but unfortunately, there's a sickle beside it. Remember, the angels are the reapers, my friends. And then the tares at the end, the true end, not your end, but what has been ordained by the Father. When this is over, he says it's over. And the Son returns in his glory, not in his shame from Shinar. There's the sickle, symbolizing the reaper, as you, as the tare, which fulfills the fractal. Over and over again. Now, I've just gotten started. Luke chapter 11, verse 27. And it came to pass, as he spake these things, a certain woman of the company lifted up her voice and said unto him, Blessed is the womb that bare thee, and the paps which thou hast sucked. But he said, Yea, rather, blessed are they that keep. Blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it. Can you hear the word of God coming through a simple seer? Crying out, hoping that you'll understand this so that you can break away in truth, not in shame. Break away in truth. Don't cremate your care of morality and innocent children and peoples. Cremate your care of the material temptations and luxuries of this world that the wolves are snarling and howling at, trying to get you not to understand. Okay? Don't take your candle, number 33, and hide it under a bushel as a secret, in a secret place. It's not a noble thing to do, especially when the candle that you hide is in utter darkness. Just as we see right here, our little dark candle, our little dark witch with the Ephah. Ephah means dry measure of grain. Zion means dry place. Your water ain't gonna last. It's not gonna last. Now, what was I trying to show you here? I'm wondering if I should just start it up with a new video. It'd probably be the best thing to do, and just leave you with this reminder here, where the original chart that I did, this is a chart that fulfills the scientific understanding of Zechariah 11:17. the spiritual sighted understanding of Zechariah 11:17. And then it's going to fulfill the fulfillment of what I just told you guys about who is doing this, that they're going to the secret place, they brought their luxuries there, and that they are armed with this roll of destruction, this dead letter. The timing is about to go out here. Once again, just quickly, this video is about to go over. We're going to look at Luke chapter 11, and you're going to see the fulfillment of something you might not have noticed. The time should go out at 20 seconds here. Or not 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So I got a little time to start up. Luke chapter 11. We're going to look quickly here at verse 21 and 22. Okay? Basically a little bit of this portion right here, and the way that I've already told you about it, I'm going to upload the other video, all right, number 4, and you're going to see what that's all about. Okay? All right, so look, when a strong man armed keepeth his place, his goods are in peace. I told you that strong man that was armed was Ephraim. All right? The armed Ephraim. We know that the United States is the military might of that trinity of the black sun. We saw everything to do with their black sun trinity right here, as it's been alchemically shown to you in a spiritual way in its transmutation, conversion through temptation into the seed of men by these deluded sick ones. Okay? So, as I told you, the fulfillment of everything that Jesus is telling you in parable form about who this armed man is in his palace. We know that Zion is considered a temple palace. We know that their refuge is considered this palace for these supposed heirs and kings, for these nobles and princes and knights. But when a stronger than he shall come upon him and overcome him, he taketh from him all his armor wherein he trusted, and divideth his spoils. So who is about to have a stronger one come upon him? Who? In the fullness, because you've got to carry the equation past these poor and needy, which are innocent, that these people are trying to send this on. You got to see that these Dans are going to re-legion. They're going to switch back. Of course, they're all a part of the alternating current, which means they can switch back, my friends, to the true divine current, not that direct current that comes from someone who's seeking to wreck you. When a strong man armed, who is the strong man armed? I told you that's Ephraim. I told you that is Ephraim. Zechariah 11:17 tells you, woe to the idle shepherd who shall leaveth the flock. His right eye shall be utterly darkened. And then, of course, we have the sword shall be upon his arm. The sword, the armed man. Ephraim, the military might, the armed man who is sending these offenses. As Jesus Christ said, woe to him by whom these offenses come, that it would be better that the millstone was hung around his own neck. Think about it, Ephraim. Think about it. So, as I said when I wrote in the Fractal, so far back when I first did this series, I didn't understand all of this. I saw it in a lesser reflection, but I'm able to continually see the higher reflection once I have gone from precept to precept, line upon line, here little, there little, just like Isaiah has said and Jesus Christ has put forth in the parable. No water. No water for who? That armed man, Zechariah 11:5, now at Shinar. Okay, the ones that are sending the offenses, the ones that are armed to their teeth, the ones now they're going to have a religion come upon them. Okay, and then it says their motives is all about conquering and control with the darkened facts. It's the same thing that you see these idle shepherds run around here on YouTube just professing nothing but their darkened facts, straight up. Now we see the prophecy describes them being dried up, okay, making their facts devoid of spiritual truth, making a desert. Oh my gosh. Making a desert. Wow. Zion, dry place.